evening, beautiful woman. Welcome to Isaya's Inspiring Evenings, a podcast full of goddess stories, witches' secrets, colors of women and fairy seasons to integrate serenity, abundance, joy and magic into your life. This is episode 20, The Legend of Persephone. I am IsayaBelle, creatrix, magico-pragmatic life and business coach, goddess teacher and traveling priestess, and this podcast aims to accompany you for peaceful and inspiring evenings. Isaya's Inspiring Evenings is a podcast published every week on Saturdays, and you will find more info and the references I am talking about on the website IsayaBelle.com. Subscribe to the podcast on the platform of your choice to be informed of the publication of each new episode. If you like this podcast, you can support it by leaving stars, blue thumbs, and reviews on whatever platform you listen to me. Today, I'm going to tell you a story, a legend, such an important one that is connected to your everyday life, that is one of the founding myths of life for the ancient Greeks. Such a beautiful version of creation too. So, my invitation is for you to listen like you were a child, like I'm reading from a big book and it's bedtime soon. Allow the inner child in you to listen to this episode. Persephone, in both legend and worship, is closely related to her mother Demeter, and both form a couple, often called simply the goddesses. Here is their story. Zeus was always very close to Demeter, his sister, even after his marriage to Hera, and Persephone was indeed born of their union. Of a rare beauty, she is first known as Kori, the girl or the daughter, as opposed to Demeter, which means womb in Greek. Demeter, goddess of the grain, agriculture and fertility, was a more caring, more affectionate mother than any other goddess. In Sicily, Demeter's favorite island, Persephone was raised secretly and safely by her mother. She was now indeed a very beautiful maiden, and Demeter had an obsessive love for her only daughter, thus keeping all men away from her. In the woods of Enna, Persephone grew and was entertained under the tender eyes of the Oceanides, the nymphs of water. However, her father Zeus had promised her to Hades in marriage. But Demeter did not see it that way, and the god of the underworld became impatient and was trying to abduct Persephone by all means. One day, near Lake Pergusa, Persephone and her friends the nymphs, carefree, were picking flowers in the green Sicilian countryside. When Persephone saw a beautiful narcissus near the lake, she moved away from the group and approached, dazzled by the coveted flower, a narcissus with a brilliant blue color. She picked it, and at that moment, the ground shook, the earth opened, Hades came out and grabbed her niece on his chariot. Hades did look great on his golden chariot, drawn by two immortal horses. His skin was olive, and his hair blacker than ebony, like his beautiful team of horses. So Persephone was abducted by her uncle, in love, with the tacit agreement of Zeus, who had grown the flower. Then Hades hit the ground that opened to allow him to take his victim down to his kingdom of darkness. Against her will and despite her supplications, Persephone became his wife. Just before disappearing into the abyss, Persephone uttered a cry. Demeter heard her, and anguish gripped her heart. She ran up, but Persephone could not be found. Discovering the abduction, the unfortunate mother had only one concern: identify the abductor and find her child. She left Olympus and desperately sought her child all over Sicily, without success. For 9 days and 9 nights, mad with pain and rage, without food, drink, bath, or adornment, the goddess wandered around the world, a torch lighted in each hand, before exclaiming, "The earth will be hungry until I have recovered and found my daughter." And then she began searching again. During this painful and anguished quest that made her wander all over the known world, she refused to carry out her emblematic tasks. Thus, the crops went downhill, the cattle became sterile, the earth began to dry up, harvests failed, plants lost their fruitfulness, animals were dying for lack of food, and famine spread to the whole earth, resulting in untold misery. After months of searching, Demeter surrendered to despair. For 9 days she sat down in tears on a rock at Eleusis in Attica. After a while, the sun, Ilios, who sees everything, moved by her dismay, told her the name of the kidnapper. As soon as she came in possession of this information, Demeter, furious that Zeus had favored the abduction of her daughter, rushed to Olympus to ask Zeus to use all his powers and return her daughter at once. Zeus tried to persuade her that Hades, a powerful and influential Olympian, was an honorable match for Persephone. But Demeter refused to listen to him. She decided to continue mourning, and her mourning was particularly fatal for the planet. The voluntary exile of Demeter rendered the land sterile, and the order of the world was turned upside down. Finally, Zeus decided to give way, worried about the consequences that could befall mortals. And so Zeus sent Hermes to the underworld to search for Persephone and bring her back to her mother, provided, however, that Persephone had eaten nothing in the underworld, because it was impossible to return to the surface if one had tasted the food of the dead. Unfortunately, Persephone had swallowed 7 pomegranate seeds. After many more negotiations led by Hermes, who else but the god of trade, wealth, luck, language, thieves, and travel, one of the cleverest and most mischievous of the Olympian gods, could conduct this difficult discussion, after many more negotiations then led by Hermes, everybody managed to find a compromise. Persephone would remain the wife of Hades. She would live 6 months with him in the underworld, and the other 6 months with her mother on the surface of the planet. When Persephone lived on Earth, Demeter was happy, and the land would become fertile again. The world gave many fruits. These were the months of spring and summer. But when Persephone lived underground, Demeter lamented and nothing grew, because she would abandon her duties as an agriculture goddess. These were the months of autumn and winter, when the land is not fertile and does not give crops. The love between Demeter and her only daughter was reciprocal. If Persephone, during her first stay in the underworld, did not cease shedding tears, it was as much for her freedom sacrificed as for her absent mother. However, the young goddess got used to her dual status. She spends 6 months in the underworld with her husband as Persephone, queen of the dead and ruler of shadows, where, always acting in accordance with Hades, she is hard and inflexible. The other 6 months of the year, she returns to earth as Kori, alongside her mother, to help her in her duties. And this is how, each spring, Persephone escapes from the subterranean dwelling and ascends to earth and Olympus, with the first shoots coming out of the furrows, to burrow again among the shadows at the time of sowing. And the myth thus explains the change of the seasons, the eternal cycle of nature's death and rebirth. It explains why Persephone is the goddess of spring, of held promises, of nature's awakening and of brighter future. She is the one that brings us flowers and leaves and fruits and cereals and food again. This maiden can be seen as a beacon of hope and a plentiful, almost pregnant representative of spring. Maybe she's also the archetype of a new generation. If you want to learn more about Persephone, meet the archetype, and grant yourself a whole day of self-care, you can join the second edition of my free Goddess Sundays on April the 11th. Every month, you get invited to another Goddess Sunday. You get to meet a different goddess and attune to her archetype. You get to take a whole day for yourself, for the goddess in you. Give yourself the gift of a day of self-care and self-love in the comfort of your own home, or garden, or the nearest beach, or forest. In the morning, I will send you a PDF full of ideas, fairies' rituals, music, witches' colors, fun facts, journaling prompts, goddess secrets, and seasonal magic, and maybe more, and suggestions on how to delight in your personal Goddess Sunday. In the evening, 7:30 p.m. UK time, we meet live on Zoom, and after a cozy discussion and maybe some goddess stories, we end the day with a powerful goddess invocation to call upon the archetype's energy into your life, anchor the vibration into your energetic body, and prepare you for a peaceful sleep. The Zoom will be recorded and available as a replay for 1 week, so you can enjoy it when you're available. The second goddess you get to meet is Persephone on April the 11th. Do you feel like you're always complying to someone else's values? Do you feel full of stuff and occupations, but sometimes void of meaning? Are you sure there must be more to it, but don't know where to start to find this more? Do you feel like you've lived your life asleep? I see you. That is when you need assistance from Persephone, the Greek maiden goddess, assistance in awakening, which is actually just around the corner. Rub the sleep from your eyes and choose to be awake in life. Meet Persephone, spend the day with her, awaken the vision and find new purpose in your life. Goddess Sundays are free events, but you need to sign up, even if you're already on my list. The link to sign up will be in the description of the podcast. That's it for this episode. I hope you liked the story of Persephone. The next episode is still in creation. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, if you want to support this podcast, share, subscribe, and leave stars, blue thumbs, and a review on whichever platform you listen to. If you want to be accompanied in the change processes that life offers you, if you want to participate in the awakening of feminine energy in the world, live your life as a goddess, know the secrets of witches, and apply the rituals of fairies in your daily life, please contact me by going to the VIP coaching page of my website, IsayaBelle.com, or by participating in the retreats, programs, or courses that I offer regularly. You can also subscribe to my newsletter to be informed of all the news in the real and virtual world of IsayaBelle. You will of course find this podcast on all platforms, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, etc., but also on YouTube and on my site IsayaBelle.com on the podcast page.